G2 now on the red, H2K on the blue. We talk about the blue side, the liberty to ban what they want, and this time they want Ivern off the board.
Yeah, they don't want to get any fancy trades. I think they may just want to settle for the Kha'Zix first pick.
Has, of course, been a huge staple for Jankos. Once again, we mentioned it earlier, but 6 games. Very strong performance on that. Has pretty much carried the team's early game with an aggressive pick.
Has also been the catalyst of some of the overzealous fighting, though, from H2K, which was Jankos jumping in for a perceived lone kill, but then the teammate shows up, doesn't quite get the kill or the reset, and then he has to kind of bait his team into that fight. No supports being banned out here, so there's also a value to be put into Zyra, which didn't see any play earlier, and bot lane pressure super important in this matchup.
Malzahar taken off the board previously as well. Ryze potentially to be left up and available depending on what H2K want. Because if they get the first pick Kha'Zix, the question is going to become, what do they have to give up?
Yeah, and is it worth first picking Kha'Zix right now in a quite diverse jungle meta to give over Zyra Varus, for example?
I mean, and you already saw, even with the theoretical winning bot lane on the bottom side for H2K, they really weren't able to create a greater advantage out of that.
Ooh, interesting. H2K, they don't have faith that G2 is actually going to last ban Camille.
The blue side Camille ban is something we very rarely, we've seen it from Origin repeatedly, but very rarely from other teams. Kha'Zix coming out, taken off the board. G2 know what Jankos wants to get his hands on.
Yeah. Because they didn't want to, they basically don't want to play into Kha'Zix no matter what. Which means if Camille's open, they have to first pick it. Then they have to play into Kha'Zix, and they're looking to put a lot of value on Ryze here. So a completely different champion. They want more agency on Febiven. They want him to be able to impact the game much more. Obviously, the first pick is always going to be here, Varus, while the teams talk. So they're letting the counter go down. They've already decided their second pick as well. Or close to. And Trick really very interested in this Grace pickup.
I mean, we saw Spirit go off on it against SKT earlier today in the LCK. It'll be interesting to see if he prioritizes it here. Notably, kind of the quote-unquote counter pick to Ivern, but Ivern taken off the board, and I'm curious why the priority is here for G2.
I mean, he must just think it's the next best jungler, right? Probably because he does well into Ivern, but also because it is just a staple pick for him. Now, Jankos is, what do I play into like this aggressive duelist jungler that can invade me very early, and he needs to pick it now, too. That is the problem, too, because if he gets squeezed even harder in the jungler role, that's going to be a complete collapse for H2K on the map.
I mean, we've seen Lee Sin, we've seen Nocturne coming in for Jankos this season. They're not going to take a jungler yet. They're going to take the AD carry to match here.
It is actually quite cool because it punishes the mid lane early pick here from H2K, because H2K ideally they want to pick up Zyra maybe and the Jhin, but they kind of have to pick the jungler or they get squeezed super hard. So they're gonna lose out in either jungle or support overall.
All right.
It's not a TF.
Febiven is playing with my heart. I just stopped talking completely.
Yeah, he's hovering. He's hovering. We don't discuss the hovers.
We don't.
It has to be a jungle or support here.
Well, it is going to be support in the end. Zyra locked in, so this is the powerhouse we kind of expected to come in on the bottom side of the map.
And now G2 on purple side, they have the liberty to see, okay, how deep is our champion pool into Zyra? How many picks do we have? If we have quite a few, we could just get a good matchup into Ryze. And they can also see how many good matchups do we have into Ryze, and then they can decide where they match, or which one of these roles that they match aside from the jungler, because they're going to definitely squeeze jungle pool in second ban phase.
I mean, I've heard it from PerkZ before. He said, you cannot ban out my champion pool, so the confidence is going to be put into PerkZ.
Yeah, so they're just looking for a good matchup from PerkZ after some of the good picks into Ryze get banned out by H2K in the next phase, and they're going to punish Jankos for that.
Interesting now. Second ban phase. Can shut down the mid lane pool for PerkZ, but is it worth it? What else can they take away? We're still looking for top laners on the side of G2.
Yeah, so I imagine, unless there's an unlockable, really good first pick top lane, it's just going to be 2 jungle bans here in the Lee Sin and maybe Elise for G2 on the side. And then H2K, they probably just want to get rid of maybe Syndra, maybe Cassiopeia, both, or the Cassiopeia Orianna maybe, even more since PerkZ played the last game.
Of course, Cassio very often considered the counter pick for Ryze. Not a matchup we see a whole ton here in
Skill
Europe.
matchup considered by both PerkZ and Febiven too. Interesting that they go for GP. So they're setting up a Shen pick here.
I mean, Odo didn't quite have the agency that he wanted in the previous game, but agency appears to be the story on the side of H2K. They've given more power to the hands of Febiven.
If they ban like GP Rumble here instead, it does warrant G2 to pick up a free Shen early on.
Of course, Nocturne taken off the board. The only other jungler that has been played by Jankos, aside from the Ivern, aside from the Kha'Zix.
So Jankos is getting hit hard in this draft. I'm just curious what his next ban is going to be, because that's going to make it maybe make a difference of what G2 is going to draft here. Because there's one Shen counter being banned out. Does H2K want to push G2 on Shen and do they have a hidden counter? Or do they just not have faith in G2 playing Shen in this comp that they've already drafted? Because to me, it seems like it would fit, actually.
I mean, we've heard Misfortune's strong matchup into Zyra. Varus, of course, a terror in the laning phase. And we talk about Shen. When you talk about Shen, you have to talk about your bottom lane. And if you have the advantage, Shen just gets that much more powerful.
So they ban out the Syndra, which is a Ryze matchup off the board. And G2, do they counterpick the top or early pick Shen here? That's the bind they're in. It's like, do we care about Trundle, you know? Do we care about Rumble? Do we just play Shen? Because Rumble is an Odoamne classic, and it's a comp that H2K ran at the start of the season where they have 4 damage dealers. And they might just want to play...
Yeah. I mean, we look at it, and there's a ton of damage coming out on this H2K lineup if they do opt for the Rumble.
It's so interesting, right? Because ideally, you just want to counterpick top lane here. And because you're saving your last pick to counterpick the champion that was picked first by H2K. So in that sense, it doesn't make sense from G2 side. But because they got soft squeeze with the GP out, it's like, you know what? Actually, we feel comfortable playing Shen, even if Rumble, Rek'Sai are open.
Rek'Sai now taken for Jankos. The question was what he was going to play. Haven't seen it from him yet this season. Now picking it up, much more focused around getting the team ahead. H2K contemplating the Rumble pick. I expect it is what we will see here, but this is a lot of damage, and it's not quite the Orianna composition we saw from G2 last game, but this is an immense amount of team fight power in the favor of G2.
I mean,
or H2K, rather.
We could definitely see another Orianna come out. We could see a Cassio or maybe the Corki. Those are like 3 picks that you're considering. Okay, that's locked in. So that means G2 eSports are going for a poke composition with Varus Corki, where they like grouping. They don't really have anybody that likes to play on the side lane, although Corki does okay on side lanes, especially when package comes up. He has a brief window where he can then definitely influence side lane control. But they definitely have a really solid grouping here. Look at the siege. They essentially have 480 carries, 4 marksmen in their draft and Shen, with a nice mix of damage output.
Is this where we meme about 80 carries in 2017? Is this insert?
Where were you talking about 80 carries in 2017? G2 eSports like them so much they pick up 4 of them.
Hashtag just lethality things.
Yep.
Coming in here. This is very different.
You say just lethality things, 2 of them don't even build lethality.
All right, so Misfortune has been around since Worlds, and Corki's kind of the
Corki's kind of quirky, but yeah.
Graves came back for lethality. Varus is stronger because of lethality. Okay, it's like a 50%. I'll give myself an F on that one.
You failed.
But it wasn't 0.
Your hashtags are bad, and you should feel bad. But the coaches finally going in for the handshake. This should be very exciting because this is a strong composition from H2K. Rather traditional, almost old school with the tank Rek'Sai in the jungle, and then Rumble in the top lane. Super heavy damage, super good teamfight comp from H2K.
Well, if your hashtags are bad like mine are, we provided some good ones for you. At LOL Esports, hashtag H2K win, hashtag G2 win. Is it going to be the G2O? PerkZ told me it would be. What do you guys think it's going to be? Can H2K bring it back? Can they find their first win up against their Group A opponents? The first team to take down G2 eSports. Will we see it here?
We will, eventually. There's a brief pause right now, guys, so that gives us more time to talk a little bit about these comps. H2K, now they have kind of the shotgun comp, where if they can pull the trigger and just find a pick off, they have so much overwhelming damage. Whereas there's very few crowd control spells on the side of G2 eSports. They have Shadow Dash and then Varus Ultimate, from which name I always forget. You play by play. You can hover over it.
Chain of Corruption. I blanked on it too. You put me on the spot. Luckily, we're in spectator client.
Bad hashtags. Doesn't know Varus Ultimate. Castigating. Fail.
No. I already got an F on hashtags. I can't
so yeah,
afford to fail
and the next
another
best thing is honestly is the slow from Mithy's Make It Rain. So it's very hard for G2 to kind of lock down members on the side of H2K, as opposed to H2K. They have a snare on Ryze, a knock up on Rek'Sai. They have a massive double slow on Odoamne. Nuclear can trap people. Every single member on the side of H2K is playing with CC, and that is actually an easier composition to play.
When we look at the G2 composition, too, not only do they have limited CC, the CC that they have is so reactive. It's easy to dodge Chain of Corruption. It's a slow skill shot. Shen taunt without a flash, you can sidestep it. It's easy to predict as well.
Can you?
Well,
I can't.
I can't. We've seen these guys do it, so we'll maybe easier to dodge than some other CC. Easier to dodge than Twisted Advance, hashtag point and click. That's a good one.
That's a good one, yeah.
But I mean, I agree completely. Even when we first saw Jhin come to the meta, I feel like Rek'Sai Jhin was such a strong pairing because it set you up so easily for that deadly flourish to come in, for you to be able to lock down the opposition and really start these fights on your terms. So not only do we have pick potential on the H2K, we have the shotgun as well, and we have this insane team fight potential. But you've heard enough from us. Let's toss it back to the AD. We will be getting out of this pod shortly, but they're there to give you more context.
We are here. We're always there for you. There is a problem with the Runes and Masteries, one of the members of H2K. They're investigating right now, so we actually shouldn't be too long before we get back into the game. So we do want to look at picks and bans, and I asked you guys before the break, how does H2K get back? You said it's a clear 2-0. What kind of a plan have they devised for themselves here, Stress?
Well, G2 right now have gone for the push towers plan, but you're talking about H2K specifically. I like the mixed composition they have. The only issue I have with it is the jungle pick. The Rek'Sai is a little less strong than we've seen other junglers. You know, we were talking about maybe Jankos has something else in his playbook, like the Warwick that we know G2 have been spamming in solo queue, Unicorns have played. I'm a little interested to see that Rek'Sai is where he falls to, because we were talking the Elise was one pick that was potentially a good pick.
A part of me thought that Nocturne was the pick that they were thinking of, but then G2 got the ban on it as well.
That's true.
So caught them off guard a little bit. But nevertheless, I think that it still works as a fairly solid frontline. You have a fairly reliable engage tool. It's not the most effective, hey, it's a Maokai, flash engage, but it's still a good way you can set up the flank. Rumble ultimate combined with the Jhin ultimate is the thing that I really love, because it's something that we've been seeing a lot more throughout the world because of how good it is to siege. You throw down a Rumble ult around an objective, you set up for the Jhin ultimate behind it, and they always get forced away from the tower.
And that is what we know H2K likes to do. They like to play around the objectives, and usually that sets them up for success. However, in the last game, we did see that G2 can play that game a lot better. So does H2K have enough tools here to dismantle the plan that's coming out of H2K? And how much of a macro game can G2 play with this composition?
I think H2K do still have the tools. Between the Jhin, the Rumble, I think also Febiven has so many squishy targets in front of him that if he even gets remotely ahead, they start team fighting, people aren't going to have the health to be able to deal with the Ryze. Yes, there are 4 marksmen that G2 want to play this macro style, or at least like with a macro style where they're looking to just nuke down towers very, very quickly. It's tough, though. I think so much relies on this mid lane match, which is our featured matchup, because, as we said, if Febiven gets ahead, it's tough for G2 to stay alive long enough to actually put that into perspective.
And I want to add a little bit more onto that, because I think that the mid lane is really impactful, especially when you look at like the level 8 mark for Corki, because he's going to have the package. You have the Shen ult too. The possibility for G2 to set up the play either in bot lane or even set up a play in mid is actually incredibly high. So they have a lot of options available to them. Their poke is very good, their siege is very good, and I think that the laning phase will be a very big determining factor. If we have a very similar situation to what we had in game 1, where you just have farming matchup up until 20 minutes with not very much action, a part of me wants to give it to G2 just because of how strong their wave clear is and how good it is with their composition to disengage, poke, siege on towers, play around objectives. So I'd like to see some proactivity from H2K in the early game to enable these laners to get ahead, and then they can start making more map movement.
It'll definitely be necessary, and maybe they were betting on that proactivity and maybe getting their hands on Kha'Zix, but then they decided to ban out the Camille themselves because G2 hadn't, and they didn't want to prioritize it. What do you make of that?
Yeah, the casters touched on this briefly about the mind games between banning Camille on blue side when you've got other priorities in mind. I don't really mind H2K banning it on blue side, but the response from G2 is always going to be fairly consistent to ban away that Kha'Zix, which I think actually affects H2K negatively much more than like if you'd have left the Camille open for G2. I actually think that expect Odo has the potential to snowball like the last game, but G2 have showed fairly clean play around the rest of the map, which H2K didn't manage to do in the last game. So it's a bit of a mind game in picks and bans that I actually like how it's ended up for G2's favor, at least.
Right. So it just actually straightens your predictions beforehand. Or
I suppose so.
I did not pronounce
well,
that
I actually think that it's just, for H2K, when I look at the draft, I think that this is a comp, as you rightly said, that is built around their playstyle, which is very much playing around objectives and powerful laners. The question is, can they now act upon it? Because game 1, we didn't see much from them, but I feel that G2 should have this in the bag.
Good news, the mastery issue is fixed. They have some, so that's always good. Casters, take it away.
Thank you very much. Good to know that they have masteries. Good to have that, of course. It was a mastery issue, has been resolved. We are about to get back into game.
You're such a puppet.
Why am I a puppet?
You're just saying what Shox is saying.
To be fair, the voices in my head told me to say that, which we.
But she just said it.
Casually referred to.
Is Shox the voice
I was
in your head?
I was told to say it. I mean, all right, man. I might be a little bit of a puppet. Right?
Okay, you're a
All
puppet.
right.
Great. We're about to go into the game, guys, because the master issue is resolved.
We're all puppets. Yay! We promise there's League of Legends.
Yeah,
and it's
going into-
about to happen. The game is unpausing. We're about to get in. Let's get the hype one more time. One more time. G2, H2K, Game 2.
The crowd is ready. Febiven is ready. He has his war face on. You could see him there. Very stern, focused. Tension.
Tension builds. Both teams leaving the base. G2, last game.
Look at them pings, man. Straight down the bottom lane. When you play versus Zyra, you did not want to give up your turf. It's king of the hill right there.
We got only 2 members going down on the side of H2K, though.
Chei, how badly do you want that lane control with your seeds?
They're not bringing enough people to this brawl, Crepo.
Nope.
They can't afford to pick this fight.
This is 4 marksmen support Shen. There is no top laner. There is no jungle. This is the ultimate flex.
Well,
And nothing happens. Marksman in
Got him.
2017, man. Just so useless.
so little damage.
But the goal here is obviously to get the Zyra away from the lane.
Yeah, of
And
course.
that has been successful.
The passive giving you so much plant control, you don't want to give Zyra the freedom to spawn those anywhere and everywhere. Now, of course, G2 have mitigated that potential threat as Mithy plays on the front line, maybe looking to get a few more Spell Thief stacks before the laning phase begins. But
Literally making it rain. Get that goal.
Minions have spawned.
get everything they want. We'll have to see, though, because we talked about the importance of a strong early laning phase here for G2. How important that is when you have a Shen on your team. But
Yeah, definitely. Because they could just leverage advantage, right? Because if you look at the lanes that's supposed to push, this Corki is a counter pick. So generally counter picks usually are expected to push the matchup. But Corki in general just has really strong early trading. G2 have the counter pick on the MF versus Chei Zyra there. And they have the stronger pushing AD carry in Zven right there. So they should have pushing mid and bot lane, which means at level 6, expect you just help it out. That is a dream.
ideal situation, but will he get the luxury of doing so? Last time he fell behind, but he had the Camille to back him up. This time, it's Shen into Rumble. There's not really an inevitability factor there. There's not the knowledge that your champion is just plain stronger to carry you through the mid game. Gonna need cleaner play to come out from Expect this time around.
And Trick starting on the bot side. Just gonna double check that. Must have been a solo start then, right? Did he get a leash? No, solo start. This is what Trick has been doing a lot recently. In a metagame where a lot of junglers have been revealing their position at start time, they actually solo start. When there's no wards being placed deep into them in jungle, or at least Trick thinks they were not, he just solo starts, goes for a fast sustain clear, which is obviously one of the strengths of Graves, and then he can technically show up at any lane. Right now, H2K have no idea of which side of the map he's on right now.
They did place a ward at the red buff, however.
Oh, they did level 1?
They did. We did
Okay.
see that coming out, so there is a little bit more information there, but it did free up his bottom lane to ensure control.
No, it definitely did. It expired slightly off the red spawn, so they have an idea of where he started. They obviously don't know his path, so they don't know if this red buff is still up. Jankos now going to confirm. He has double buffs already here, so he's actually punishing Twig's super greedy farm.
Has the smite as well, can look to contest. Same level though. Has to be careful. Corki may not have the luxury of coming up. Trick gets it in the end. Jankos just gonna pull back.
Yeah, I really like this play, because this is... with the information that there was a ward level 1, the story changes, of course. Jankos knows that Graves jungles very often go for full clear, super greedy, because they AoE so well, and they don't have to skip Raptors, because Graves is just really good at doing Raptors. That you can technically take both buffs, especially if you get a leash, and then invade for a contest on red. But Tick did a good job pulling the buff back.
But of course, Jankos puts down some vision as he leaves the lane, and that means that they know exactly where Trick is. It means that Odoamne is free to continue pressuring on the top side. And on top of that, Febiven gets the perfect back in the mid lane.
But it comes at a cost, though. Trick is already level 4 and counting, and Jankos now has to catch up. Which means if Trick does decide to put pressure top lane, Jankos will have to defend at a level deficit.
It's going back and forth. Expect getting what he can. This is kind of what we expect, though. Triple rejuve, beat start as well. No real combat stats. Jankos.
Ooh, Jankos going for the super greedy gank here. This is an insanely good gank timing for Rek'Sai, but that ward from Trick was super well placed to dodge exactly this. This is how... Was it Fnatic that got ahead with this gank? I know Caps... I think Caps died to one of these ganks by G2 Esports in the past here. So G2 know that play pattern all too well. It's a super slick move where you go to Raptors, tunnel over, and then Ryze goes in for the flash snare. It's a really sick gameplay that you can do. It can really snowball any matchup under control. So against Ryze especially, and Rek'Sai, that ward is super crucial, and Trick placed it.
And we saw Jankos moving into invade as well just minutes ago, and it seems like both junglers very aware of what the other's objectives are, and they're playing around them so cleanly. Both junglers on the bottom side. We might have a 3v3. Trick is moving in.
And it might also just be maybe a pressure point, just trying to get the base off. Chei and Nuclear fighting back very well here. Only down 5 CS. And quite the hard matchup, and they're actually getting some push going on here. So they're not the usual super passive kind of bot lane that we describe them of sometimes. I would say passive, I just say calculated more often. Zven again and Mithy, they love going for these early bases. Chei's going to stop them though.
Oh, that's a nice trade.
Yeah, really good punish.
Not going to have quite the luxury. Wave still pushing against them as well.
Yeah. So Chei and Nuclear, especially with that stop, taking control of the lane. Because Mithy goes out of potions right now, and that's a brutal poke. So he's actually leaving Zven to farm 1v2. And Chei reads that, knows that he can also base here, go for Ruby 2 control wards. Slight gold advantage.
You know, maybe it's the comfort, knowing that they're not playing against Nautilus. They should know, the Zyra versus MF matchup.
No, it's also just because if you don't base right here and you let your opposing support base, they'll come back and just wreck your lane. So you need to match. Mithy going straight to the lane.
Yeah,
Chei thinking of swinging down mid, but he sees that anybody's there to influence the lane, so he just goes straight out on bottom lane again. And Zven's still a few CS ahead.
Once again, a relatively slow early game. Both junglers doing a good job of keeping track of the other. Both lanes aware that they can't afford to be playing too risky. But Jankos now on the top side.
Especially since we missed the kind of kill the Shen before first base. This might be another super slow game. Especially with Shen involved, because both of these teams are so good at reading map. H2K have a lot of experience playing Shen themselves, so do G2, so they know the implication of a potential Shen ulti, so they won't likely overreach.
Mithy. Not going to overreach there either, although very close. We'll have pots to heal up. It's about the closest to a death we've gotten so far. Jankos not going to take the time to clear out the control ward, doesn't feel comfortable.
He knows it's there.
This is, of course, PerkZ' second game on the Corki. Last time around, he was behind 6 CS at the 10-minute mark.
And this lane right now is all about sidestepping skill shots here. Zven with a double dodge. Nuclear has basically been shooting his Jhin W so that if you juke, you get punished for it. Either you walk into more auto attacks or you walk into more plant damage. But Zven, to go for that dodge, like on reaction on both skill shots, this guy's so good.
I mean, had an insane game last time around. It was so easy for us to focus on Camille in those team fights when she's the one leaping forward, when they've got all these people who need to press their ultimates to make damage happen. But he was kind of the unseen hero, constantly dishing out damage.
Yeah, but Nuclear's been doing a stellar job dodging a lot of these piercing arrows too. Mithy's getting caught though.
Curtain call. They're going to have to body block for that one. Jankos is on the way in. They're pulling back. Mithy exposed for a brief moment. Sven got a body block for his brother in arms.
Because they're looking to counter with a potential Shen ultimate that could go down the bottom lane. Obviously expect to use one of his globals already, so they know Odoamne can follow. That's why G2 don't really want to commit to that play. Because if it's a full-on 4v4, where both top laners arrive in the bottom lane, and there's already a poke on the bottom lane, H2K will win the fight.
And you can see Expect now being pushed in as well. Odo knows what his job is, and it's to make sure that Shen cannot comfortably leave the lane.
Yeah, Nuclear definitely taking the best out of Mithy here. Landed quite a few of these already, and every single time Nuclear lands that spell, it's just going to mean that Mithy will suffer and get poked out.
And I mean, it's so difficult already to hit that Misfortune. She has the extra movement speed, but Chei clearly very comfortable, and Nuclear clearly very comfortable in this matchup to land the necessary poke, to take that passive away, and then to immediately lock Mithy down.
Yeah, but despite getting ganked, Zven is up again. Quite a bit of CS.
He's just so good.
I mean, it's a combined effort, of course. Every time Mithy is taking damage, is also to create pressure to allow Zven to farm and not then get traded on.
I like that.
Obviously, he's not taking damage on purpose. He would like to dodge these skill shots, but
Just cleared out. PerkZ goes in. That's a decent amount of damage. Jankos maybe looking for the knock up here. Flash to safety. PerkZ falls to the wall. Is that too aggressive? Shen on the way in. They want to use the ult from Expect.
It is too aggressive. Oh, this is a big blow to the economy of G2 eSports right now, because look, there was already pressure in the top lane. There is TP advantage for another 1 minute on the side of H2K, and they get a massive amount of chip damage in the top lane because PerkZ decided to chase with Flash.
Now, last game, H2K got those small advantages as well, but they weren't able to transition them. However, this is already a better start. Because no longer is there the Camille. No longer is there the inevitability.
And it also shows you how hard it is to play without CC in your composition. Because you need to be damn sure that you kill somebody just with the raw amount of damage, or maybe the slow from an exhaust. So that's double summoners used here. Now Febiven has flash. They can set up for Jankos gank so easily in the mid lane right now.
They see Jankos backing. He's backing on vision. They know that they're free to engage in the rumble.
Oh, Mithy again.
Oh, that's not what you want. Curtain calls. It's going to be curtains for Mithy. He's going to get... No! Sidestep. One more. Not going to happen. First blood as the curtain call goes in.
Ooh, Chei and Nuclear out laning Zven and Mithy overall here. A couple of good pickoffs. It all goes back to that one foiled base attempt earlier. It gave them the full control. And then there was a level advantage on the side of Chei.
PerkZ now with a decent CS advantage, a little bit better than last time we saw him pick up this Corki. But I think the big thing there is that Nuclear and Chei, they go off. Trick thinks he has an opportunity to gank the top lane, but he exposes himself, and Sven's exposed as well. Down he goes.
I had to blow the summoners earlier. Jankos really punishing G2 where it hurts. And there was no Shen ultimate available. This is where G2 needed Expect to be able to step in when they make misplays to then catch up. This is not what they were planning. Their game plan was to play it slow, steady, and calm and collected. There's even lack of communication in the top lane because Trick kind of go for some poke on Odoamne, trying to reset the wave. H2K in complete control.
Yeah, they can't even push the wave into tower. Rumble has the equalizer. He has the freedom to clear that wave out instantly and doesn't even need it. Although Trick, clearly hungry to make something happen. He spent so much time top side.
Yeah, he was actually just helping Expect not lose his turret there. So that's what he was doing. Then obviously he got cancelled on his base, so he just decided to give some trade on backend. But Odoamne comfortable. He knows one of them's in base. He really wishes Expect to use his teleport back to lane right now.
They'll have knowledge of the Ryze backing. No surprises there as he pushed the wave out already. But this is the early game lead that they wanted. Trick trying to make a lead for his team, though. Odoamne with the overextend.
Yeah, Trick can't afford to use his dash again because then he has no way to get out of the equalizer. So Odoamne, I love seeing a top laner play so calm. Just walk up and it's like, okay, if you flash, I flash. No panic movement, no panic ultimates. He's always in control there.
First blood, first tower, and maybe first dragon as well. Jankos potentially in trouble here. All gonna go wide. Mithy with the misstep.
That's hesitation.
This is the same hesitation we saw in game one coming out from PerkZ on those Orianna ultimates. As a couple of them went wide, but this time, Mithy not a man we know to fall behind in lane, not a man to make mistakes, especially in a rehearsed matchup.
No, definitely not having his game here. Got out lane by the H2K bot lane, got punished for it. Didn't have the Shen ultimate available that should have been available here. H2K, the pressure that they're putting on is getting to G2, and it's a much different game than game one, where they gave the map over to G2 eSports. Right now, H2K is the one more proactive, as we expected on the blue side.
G2 with the team that didn't want to take the 70% plays. Wanted to make sure that they had the 90s.
PerkZ took like a 40% play right there. What was that flash?
Zven and Mithy were the players that didn't want to take 77 plays, and now they're not getting any plays.
Well, Mithy took like 80% of the skill shots.
Oh no.
90%.
90%. Oh no, Mithy falls down at the hands. Nuclear once again. Chei popping off this game 0-0-3. The man just does not miss. Nuclear playing, the duo just playing so well together.
There must always be a Hachani in the European LCS.
I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't going to do it. Oh, Crepple, you're a cruel man.
Cut off his head. Mithy will take his place. No, it's actually quite sad. But yeah, this is not a great game from Alfonso. So G2 looking to rectify the situation, but it's so hard. They're playing composition that does not play well from behind. 4,000 gold down right here at 13 minutes in the game. This is definitely looking like a game 3 in this series.
Overall, G2 said they wanted more experience playing in the mid and late game at an even gold. They're not going to get that this time around. They're going to be playing at a gold deficit, and this is not...
It's Worlds all over again.
Yeah, you are firing shots today. This is Crepple Unleashed, ladies and gentlemen. He is nobody's puppet.
Screw the puppets. But let's see how clean H2K can play this out, though, because that's what Probably is trying to instill in these guys as well. Get an advantage, and they're getting the right formation here. Ryze on the side lane, much different than game 1 where the Azir really wants to stay mid lane. Ryze is a fantastic champion to play side lanes here. Ghost Flash. PerkZ has moments where he can match him with the package. So that is the moment where HK need to kind of pull back and play slowly. But they have the map set up pretty well.
And while last game we saw a lot of hesitation from Nuclear going to pick up the side waves, no longer will that be an issue. Ryze will take his place, and he can comfortably take up home position in the mid lane. So while we may not see that improvement from H2K, it's no longer necessary.
And it may be necessary for G2 to pull the trigger on kind of a low percentage play, where they open up with the Chain of Corruption, have Stand United come down, and then hope to make a pick off. Combine their only 2 CC spell effects, or gank the side lane.
Moving in, Odo potentially in trouble. They are going to land the taunt. That's a decent amount of damage. Spirit's Refuge.
But at what cost? In the mid lane right now, there should be a reaction from H2K coming out.
He's doing his best to clear out the waves. Curtain call going in. Will they look to commit for the dive? Chei's on the side. They go wide with the skill shot. Sven's the one who's caught out. He's in trouble. Oh, that's it. Nuclear takes him down.
And again, crowd control effects make it so much easier to play League of Legends here. H2K, they see themselves get caught off guard, but they were already in a good position. H2K peel off from bottom lane. They send Febiven mid, and here's Chei.
Wants to go in. He's going to get the knock up. Mithy, lamb to the slaughter. H2K going for the dive.
And going for the dive. G2, their main prerogative right there was get the wave down, but there's still 3 range creeps remaining. While Expect is stuck in the top lane, obviously, without any global to his disposal, H2K, they get traded upon, but they fight back harder.
The Shen, you know, so prioritized. Almost in every game in Europe. Trick. Oh, taking a bit of damage there. No follow-up this time around, but the skill shot accuracy is a little insane at this point in this bot lane.
Really well played here. So this is where it all starts. Just look at the map right now. Febiven's already around mid lane. G2 looking to defend. Mithy should just blow up this wave with his ultimate. Immediately. Wait, Mithy just flashed. He flashed something right before that.
And exhausted.
And exhausted. Really weird. Maybe that's a spectator bug, but I don't know what he did right there. But obviously they're too late, yeah, and then they're trying to defend the wave that's coming, but a good flank from Chei. First it was Febiven flanking, now it's Chei. Really good punish, and these deadly flourishes have been on point. Nuclear has landed at least 7 crucial ones that have all led to either chunks or set up for picks.
You can see Mithy, a little bit of frustration there on the face. Caught out 3 times now. And I mean,
so hard to play from behind. There's no tank line for you. You're playing, your tank is playing in the top lane, continuously getting pushed in. Your Stand Uniteds are not being used for the team. They're being used to kind of win lane back on the second one, and the first one was used because of a greedy play by your mid laner.
And this team comp, if it's ahead, it has so much damage. You don't even need CC. Death is the best CC, but when you don't, when you're even potentially in damage, now that the enemy team has a gold lead, all that CC starts to stack up against you, and it means you no longer have agency on the map.
Yep, H2K looking to set up the 1-3-1 again. Because Nuclear still has his flash, he can actually somewhat comfortably walk mid lane, put some pressure on his wave. They want to get deep vision at least in one quadrant, either top left or top right. That's their main goal. They want to isolate this mid lane turret. They have the superior dueling potential from Ryze in the bottom lane. Still two summoners on Febiven. And every time Febiven pushes, he peels off. Just wants to join with Nuclear and Chei to get vision. Look how they're working together as a unit here at H2K. This is exactly the opposite of what Fnatic was doing when they were playing 1-3-1. Amazing was forced to face check alone. Cost him his spot on the roster, but it was a bigger problem, really, in terms of communication for that Fnatic lineup. And H2K are definitely showing how you snowball elite much better.
Expect moving in. Maybe looking for something a little bit more aggressive.
Trick's coming, so they're looking to set up a dive. So aggressive play to get the mini wave. Odoamne recognizes this, immediately goes out for the equalizer to not allow Expect to walk under turret, because he knows something's coming. Shen would never taunt you aggressively there, unless the jungle was there.
Yeah, no tools to win that 1v1 by himself. PerkZ, of course, once that exhaust is up, may be able to start to look to fight the Ryze, but it doesn't get easier from here. Sven clearing the waves as best he can, but has to watch the deadly flourish.
But a foiled play on the top side of the map leads to advantage at least bottom side of the map, which means H2K have the vision set up for this dragon. Odoamne dodging that gank means it's a clean trade here. 1 for 0 in terms of objectives. H2K, solid control.
And last time it was Ocean Drakes into an Inferno. And while the Infernal may have been good, this Mountain will be fantastic for H2K because that Baron is now that much more available to them. Their split push is that much more effective when they are left unchecked in the side lanes.
And G2 playing like a broken record here. The punch top lane here. Odoamne, Blast Cone surprises him. Trick shows up.
It's going to be enough. Expect has ult, but clearly doesn't want to burn it.
Like if he's going to burn it, he would have had to do it already. If he was going to ulti, it should have been instantly when Trick came over the wall. So it's good for him to not panic ulti afterwards.
Flash trade for Flash in the end. Maybe that can be an advantage for G2, but it hasn't turned into one yet. And right now it's H2K in absolute control. They have vision control all around bottom side of the map. The Ryze can go back there anytime he likes and know that he is safe.
Yeah, and Jankos, not the real assassin that we're used to seeing on these plenty of games of Kazakhs. Playing the Tracker's Knife, Rek'Sai, not looking for any duels, no red smite, no blue smite. Simply playing the vision game here, Cinderhulk into what probably will be a randomins versus all these marksmen. Really just playing the objective vision game here on the side of H2K.
So good as well, because those lethality items, yeah, they're great against the squishier members who don't build armor, but since he's already stacking this armor, a lot of that early, you know, flat armor pen is just going to be that much less relevant.
And yet another game where H2K take first turret and first dragon. They're so good at finding openings.
And first blood.
And first blood again as well.
I mean, this is kind of the clean early game we expected from them. Maybe we didn't expect to see it against J2. We thought G2 would be able to fight back, and they did in game 1, but game 2, it is absolutely H2K who are in control.
Yeah, with this lineup, it's much better for H2K to have Febiven play side lanes, because in the last few weeks he's really been showing that he's a pretty smart player when it comes to knowing when to push out a side lane and kind of when to yield for potential ganks. And I think it's much more comfortable for H2K as a team to play with Nuclear in the mid lane and have Febi go onto the side lanes.
Trick doing what he can to kind of recoup the losses as the vision control continues to be in the favor of H2K. We'll be able to clear out the control ward, but what is it going to cost him? Chei poking his head in, ready to get aggressive. There's so much more vision here for H2K that G2 cannot even see. Has now been cleared out. Ward's starting to fade away, but tower's still up, but it's just not at all in favor of G2 to control this area.
It's so hard to siege it though versus the wave clip from the Varus. Super strong pick. Expect has some push on the top lane, so they could look for a Shen ultimate. And again, G2 need to fight their way out, because the game, eventually they will get choked out. So they need to go for maybe a lower percentage play and go for something. But H2K, such a good setup here all the time.
This is so risky. They're going to get engaged on that. Is excellent knockup as the Unburrow comes in. Chei looking to get a little bit more damage. Bullet time not going to be enough. Now moving for a little bit more. Trick wants a kill. He's not going to find it. Spirit's Refuge to save the day. G2 empty-handed once again.
Yeah, they find a kill.
Double.
Oh, the snipe there from Nuclear. They find a kill. They find 2 kills. They make G2 use their strongest global in the Shen ultimate. And then Odoamne can just match right now in the top lane. Just endlessly push. The map is 5v3. The game is for the taking.
Oh,
here we go.
No, lockdown, Chain CC. Nuclear going godlike. Expect the last man left standing. Zven there to back him up.
There's almost nothing G2 Esports can do. H2K really snowballing it very cleanly. Target selection on point. They may just go for a 22-minute Baron Nashor.
They have Ryze, they have the Rumble, they have the sustained damage from the Zyra plants, they have the Mountain Drake to back them up. This is going to be Baron coming in for H2K. And game 1 was slow and steady, but H2K are coming out the gates swinging this time around. 7K gold lead, only 20 minutes.
Yeah, Chei's vision control in this brush has been stellar, because it's not as impressive that he lands this combo. Is that he's constantly been in that brush and had it under vision control without G2 seeing where he is, because they can never see him open up. He's been having really good control wars and sweeps there, and then the snipe, the Deathfire, super strong there. Nuclear popping off.
It's so good to see, of course, as we finish out this replay, you can see on the live screen, H2K finally break down the tower. And it just continues from here.
Yeah, it's just one CC into the other, follow-up, chain CC, running a train on G2 Esports, and they're just struggling right now. What do? They have nothing to react with. Their composition doesn't allow them to play from behind.
This is H2K fighting back, poised now to take it to a game 3. We want to see the risky plays. G2 need to go all in somewhere because they are bleeding out. It is slow and steady, but it is happening. And I really don't know what's left for them to do with this.
I think this is a game where you play Draft Simulator for game 3. You just wait out the remaining time. You start looking at like where did it go wrong, what side selection are we going to do, because they know very much so that it's so likely to be over. We can, however, look at how cleanly H2K can finish and start grading them on that, because it's still more of the same recipe. It's a 1-3-1, push in, potentially rotate, make it a 1-4, because it gets so much easier to play this style.
They've been trading back chunks there as the Baron minions continue to break down the towers.
But they go bot, so you take mid. Now they go mid, so you push up bottom again if you're Febiven.
Nuclear's going to clear mid. Now we look at top side as Odo has the pressure
Or
there.
you take Scuttle Crab if you're Febiven.
Zyra going up. Febiven looking for some bonus gold here as he takes out the Scuttle Crab, and now another tier 2 is set to fall.
Kitty and macro player. Yep, another turret being pushed in. You can just push in the minions, leave them, then back off. Now Nuclear playing mid again. This guy has constantly had his flash. He's never been at a threat of being picked off. Really respecting the potential pick off from G2. It's not much, but
I mean, so much respect there, too. He could have just protected the cannon creep, but doesn't even want to take the risk.
He's 8-0. So hard for a lineup that initially the story was, let's just play around top side. We have a very passive bottom lane right here that knows when to back off. They completely flipped it upside down. This guy is hard carrying from the bot lane with Chei.
And I mean, it started from the beginning of the game when they landed every skill shot that they needed to. It wasn't even a lead built from the jungle attention. It was a lead built by Nuclear and Chei themselves.
And there's no excuses for G2 eSports. They got the strongest pick in Varus, and they got the conventional support counter pick in Misfortune. They should have won this lane.
And so, I mean, we consider, and have considered for so long, Zven and Mithy the best bot lane. I mean, in the West, and now they're falling prey here against the brand new bot lane of H2K.
I see you read Reddit. Reading that topic. Can't just use it like that, Sipa. No, but they have been, and they probably should be rated at still. One game is not going to take it away, but it's good to see that they're being challenged. Because last year it was such a big jump down. It was Zven and Mithy, then maybe Kobe and Mickey on a good day, and then from that point onwards, you have to take a deep dive down the bottom lane.
Forgiven, Vander, strong moments later in the season.
During this, but Forgiven didn't come in until
the very
end, and obviously, they were strong.
Yeah. So while we can't take the title away from them, while you can say that it's good to see them challenged, I don't think we expected them to be challenged this much, for them to be beaten in lane this kind of decidedly.
I mean, knowing Mithy a little bit as a person, as a player as well, it's expected when this guy goes 0-2 that he goes 0-5. We'll have to see. It's just a really hard comp to play. And again, it goes back to the draft. It's so hard for them to do anything. They can't face anything. They have no vision. PerkZ dead.
Yeah.
Super clean, though. I'm loving the efficiency from H2K.
This was terrifying. I mean, you consider for so many games Zyra this squishy, vulnerable support, but when you got all the vision in the world, when you know you're unseen, you can just roll up on anybody.
This guy's rocking the Leandries, man. He's not even going for Ryze. He's like, no, look at me. I'm an AP carry now.
Yeah. Slows? No. I land hard CC, thank you. Of course, G2 doing their best to clear the waves. They do have solid wave clear with the Corki, with the Varus, but it just doesn't mean much. 10-1 the kill score, 12K gold lead.
Yeah, really good push and pull here. Always backing off when they're getting challenged. No need to be a hero. No need to go for the fancy plays here. Always chipping the turret when you can and then pushing through with Jankos in the front line, playing a tank this game.
Inhibitor set to fall. G2, are they going to find an opening here? Trix trying to make one. He goes in onto Nuclear. Can they shut him down? Expect once to get something nice interrupt from Jankos. Zven does connect the CC, but there's not enough damage. Equalizer's going down. G2 are getting burned to a crisp. In goes the Realm Orb. In goes Nuclear, and down goes Zven.
Tank and spank from Jankos. He interrupts the Shadow Dash right there, and that was the only offensive tool that G2 had in their arsenal, and it wasn't enough. Super clean victory here. One kill away from a perfect game from H2K.
Febiven hungry for blood. He goes in. Expect tries to get something back. Spirit's Refuge is a refuge for G2. They'll stall this one out for just a little bit longer, but there can be no doubt in our mind that H2K will walk away the victors here.
A single death on Odoamne where he got picked off by Expect and Trick together, which was maybe the third gank attempt in a row, which generated a massive game lead for H2K, is what separates them from actually playing the perfect game.
0 turrets picked up. 0 dragons picked up. A single kill separates H2K from a perfect game against G2 eSports.
That's just what I said.
You said perfect game?
Yes, you weren't paying attention. God damn it, Sipa. I saw him look at me with the biggest grin in his life. He's like, ooh, I've got it. I've got the revelation. Look, guys, it's almost a perfect game.
Did you say the words perfect game?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Twice.
Look, man. I'm gonna need you to save stuff like that for me. I really need. That's like.
You need a win?
Yeah, I need a win right now, Crepo. I got an F on 2 Shoutcaster report cards here for hashtags, for whatever the other one was. I don't know what you gave me. Ability names.
For perfect games.
Now for perfect games.
But look, Sipa, if it wasn't for that one kill.
Would they have had a perfect game, Crepo?
Really? Wow, that's actually impressive, because ironically it was G2 eSports last week with the only perfect game so far in the spring split.
Well, maybe they're happy now that they've denied that right from H2K.
That's what they were playing for.
That's what they're holding on to at this point.
Like, guys, we're going down, but at least we'll have the record.
And this is how decided this game is that me and Crepo are free very
I mean,
much.
the game is over. Our prerogative was, how clean can H2K finish it off? Well, apparently nobody's died yet. They've opened up one inhibitor at least. Another one's there. Jankos survived death.
By Zven, that is unfortunate. Mithy's next. He goes down for his 6th death of the game. 4 deaths for Zven. The double kill goes in for the Rumble, and every member of H2K is popping off. Lockdown onto Trick. Shen ult not going to be enough. Stand united. Not going to mean a damn thing.
Penta?
Triple kill. Moving forward. Odo, is he going to get it? Shields up. No.
That's what he's playing for. Expect going low, getting chunked out. He drops. Another kill right there for Febiven. What a game from H2K.
Beautiful execution. It was G2 who took it slow and steady. It was H2K who upped the pace, who are going to take game 2 and who are going to make it a series here in our 2nd match of the week.
And we're going to a game 3, guys. G2, they have to fight back because this wasn't enough. It was too easy for H2K. H2K looking strong.
Almost a perfect game.
Almost a perfect game.
Crazy.
Damn, that we missed that. Also called you by the wrong name. It's Jankos, by the way, these days.
I don't even notice, and that's the worst part.
Yeah,
it's Draco. It's definitely Jankos. It's Jankos, 100%, 100%. Can be no doubt there. But
we were looking for an easier comp to play for H2K to kind of go back to what Probably was saying. He tried to go for the Ivory comp initially, but this, so much CC overall, really made it so easy to play for H2K, and they snowballed well.
such a clean snowball, such a good game in the end. We now have a tie in this best of 3 between H2K and G2. Let's head over to the analyst desk to break down that 2nd game.
Thank you very much, Jankos. That is the hardest loss that G2 have suffered the entire split. In fact, they were 1 death away from being perfect
a perfect game?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, that they were.
Wow, I didn't hear that.
I wasn't sure we were
No,
getting
me
that.
neither.
That was
perfect.
And let's actually look at how much difference a game and a game like this makes. If you look at what was at stake here today, H2K kind of in a good form, but still not the highest, in 2nd place in Group B, losing to the Unicorns of Love, struggling versus Vitality, about to go down 0-2 versus G2, and then they get a chance to upset G2 if they make it in this 3rd game, and they completely demolish them here.
And they do it in a way that suits H2K style perfectly. They draft what I believe to be a simpler comp, something that we were talking about, something the casters were talking about, something that they know how to execute because it's very reliant on objectives. But I think the biggest surprise was how well they snowballed the lanes. This was something we wanted to see more from them. This was something that put a little bit more pressure onto Jankos, but it seemed to me that they knew exactly what to do. And we see it here in this very early gank from Jankos. He went for a bottom lane gank. Both Mithy and Zven had already taken a lot of harassment, and because all of the summoners were burnt, this enabled H2K's bottom lane to just get the outplay and start the snowball for H2K.
Rinse, repeat again in that bottom lane every single time. I mean, how often do we see G2's bot lane actually dying in a 2v2 setup? They pride themselves on never dying there, and honestly, it's not only in the laning phase that was happening. Chei was so good in this game, so good. Catching them out over the bushes. You saw it mid lane time and time again. We want to see that replay, actually, because this was the beginning of the end, really, for G2 on this one. The mid lane dive that came through that Chei ends up setting up was perfect out by H2K. Mithy gives them a little bit of an advantage earlier. There's the thing that
come on.
I don't know what Mithy did there.
Not sure why he flashed, looked like a bit of a mistake, and then ends up getting picked off. So Zven's dead already. Chei comes around the side. Wonder what he's going to do from here. Oh yeah, he's going to go on Mithy because now he's got no flash. Perfectly sets up the play, and from here, H2K just take full control.
And we talked a lot about how the Jhin ultimate combined with the Rumble ultimate is what enables H2K to go for these dives, but it should be harder when you're going up against the Shen, and you kind of need the Rumble ultimate to do it as well. But they were forcing these plays regardless because they knew of how strong Nuclear was, they knew of how much of an advantage they had, not only in the top lane, but in the bottom lane, and it just, the laning phase could not have gone better for the side of H2K.
Exactly. It feels like almost the mirror of the H2K Vitality game where, you know, H2K picked a comp that just got pushed in. Well, G2 picked a comp that got pushed in because of the presence from Jankos in bot lane, allowed Odo to do the same in the top lane. They lose both side lane towers, and then it's obvious where H2K are going after that, and G2 just didn't have enough power left in the tank to really be able to deal with it. They got caught out. Looked sloppy from G2, but that was H2K catching them out more often than the opposite.
And I think that is an important thing to note. While we do praise H2K, we also have to look at Zven and Mithy because Mithy in particular definitely seemed to really struggle in terms of his performance in that game.
Yeah, if you look at the tiltometer for Mithy, I don't ever think he's gone like 0, 5, and 5 in an entire game, and that is symptomatic, I think, for the rest of the squad. So Yeah.
I was going to say, I agree.
Please?
I don't think G2 will tilt off this game, though. I think that the things they've worked on, I think it's, you know, fun, and we like to joke about it, but I think the improvements they've made actually are fairly significant on this. So I think G2 should be able to come back into this. At least you would expect it from a team that's won, you know, the split twice.
Yeah, definitely. And if we look at maybe cockiness or riskiness in terms of draft, we talked about the Camille being led through for H2K in game 1 that didn't play out well. Do you feel that it was a risk for G2, or a similar risk for G2 to pick this composition that was solely meant on pushing, and you know if you get behind and you can get engaged on, you will lose the game?
Personally, I don't. I think the draft from G2 was fairly solid. They had a good execution. They had a good game plan. It was just a matter of execution that H2K were able to punish them on.
I think it's interesting because I don't think they anticipated drafting 4 AD carries. It just through the draft, that's kind of how it fell. That was what the best thing. So I don't think they'll be boxed into that corner again.
And it'll be very interesting to see what both teams come up with for the decider. When we come back, it'll be our final game of the night, the decider between H2K and G2. Stick around, you won't want to miss it.